Hey guys, it's Luco, and today I want to do a video on how to render because I feel like a lot of people think it's really hard or think it's a really big learning curve, and it is. But I want to give you guys a way where it's kind of easier to digest exactly how to render. So let's just start off. This is what I call a base. So my base is this. My background is not white, it's a dark gray. I do that on purpose. And then my line art, if you can tell, it's really thin and also has a lot of moons or loops like this, like double lines. Those are shadows for later to be filled in. Another thing I add to my line art is like form. It's like the lip here, under the eyes, and the nose is already drawn in, so you don't have to do that later, and it helps you add form later. Okay, now that you have your line art, you want to add your colors under. I already have them set. Now that you have your base color, you want to duplicate your color, put it on top of your line art, set your line art to multiply, clip your color to your line art and set that mode to screen. And what this does is it blends your line art into your color. Now that that's set, you want to go onto a multiply layer. You always want to add shadows on multiply layers. And what we're going to do now is add pigment and texture to the places of your drawing that has the most pigment and texture. So I'm gonna take a dark kind of brownish color, kind of pinkish actually. I'm gonna take one of my Donner brushes. Oh, we didn't get into brushes actually. The brushes we'll be using today are basically three. It's dense watercolor that has blending properties. It's just a thick filling brush. Airbrush, which has blending properties, and the Donner brush set, which is a paid set. He is on Coffee or Ko-Fi and Blue Sky, and he has a bunch of really good textured brushes. Filling, blending, and texture is what these brushes are here for. And now that we have those set up, let's get back to our drawing. So you want to add texture with a multiply layer. I'm taking one of my Donner brushes and I'm going to where it has the most pigment or color in the drawing. It'll be the tips of the ears, apples of the cheeks, the nose, and the lip, above the eyes as well, where there's shadow, where the hair falls, under the neck, around the neck and chin, under the hair, and that will be our beginning multiply colors. What I like to do is shade the hair next, so I'm gonna take a dark blue color, also set to multiply, and I just go with a wide brush. I just go all the way around to where I want shadow to be. Now the hair has shadow and texture and you're like, Luco, this looks really bad right now. Guess what? It gets better. So what I like to do now is I like to go into the corners of my drawing. So this is step 2. So right now, or step 3 I would say. So step 1 is setting your base. Step 2 is adding the beginning pigment and shadows. Step 3 is going to the corners of your work and adding shadows there. What's a corner? A corner is where two lines meet. Like right here, right here, right here, over here. These are where the corners meet. And what happens there is that it's going to be darker. So I'm going to take an almost black color. You can change this later. Go into the corners. I'm going to make this smaller. And darken these areas up. I'm also just going to follow the line art as well because I feel like all of the line art could be darker. I'm also going to go mostly along the edges. Another thing you don't, or I like to do, go to where it's darkest and just add shadow there with this. And I just darken the lines where it should be darker. Like the top of the eyes will also be dark. She has really dark eyes actually, so I'll just fill in all of her eye. But just under the nose is where it's also dark, under the lip as well, and the corners of the mouth. And if you're like, Luco, this looks so bad. Well, guess what? We're gonna go onto a new layer. This is step 4, where you start to paint. Step 3 is darkening your lines. Step 4 is basically the entire rest of drawing, where you just repaint over your lines using dense watercolor. So I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna paint over where I was, and then basically erasing what I already did and adding new lines. And I'm gonna do this all the way around. And also, you're gonna be color picking a lot, so you don't need to guess where a color goes. You can just find the color on here. So like I'm taking that light brown from right there, and I'm gonna go over this with that. Focus on your corners, Add some more texture to the hair. And then for these, color pick, go back, just paint where it goes. Paint where it should go. Don't feel bad about painting over what you've already drawn, because you can always just paint it back over later again. So this is where we're at right now. This is kind of like where I like to call like the base of putting your colors back, or the beginning of putting your colors back in. And what I like to do after this is I like to move on to the face. So this is how I do, or how I render skin, is see this pigment we added earlier? I'm gonna take my airbrush, I'm gonna use that same color, and I'm gonna airbrush it out. And I'll turn down the lightness, and then I'll go into the layer, same thing, blend it out some more. And then I'll take that dark color one more time, and I'll add shadow where it's darker. It's like under the eye here, above the eye, the nose, the corner of the nose, and then this is also being shading. The sides of the nose is always in shading. Color in the lips, and then I'll also color in her eyebrows. I use a textured brush though. And I'll also finish coloring in her eyes. Give her eyelashes. And this is where you begin to paint, and really your drawing will start to come to life. So you see how much I just added a couple dark lines, and it's already popping a lot more and showing up a lot more. And basically with this, you just keep going. You just keep adding shadows, and you keep painting over what you already have. And then I'll also start to add more shadows around. So I'll take my thick brush, my thick textured brush, and I'll add shading here, over in the corners of the face where the hair meets, as well as the ends of the hairs, because that's where light will stop falling. Turn that down. Bam! Already looks a lot better. And then you'll just keep cleaning up your drawing with dense watercolor. You'll keep going around, you'll keep fixing areas you don't like and areas you do like, and you'll just keep going. And slowly your art will start to come together. It really is not that complicated, I would say. I'll also fix this braid. And you'll also use your background color to kind of erase sections. So like I'll clean up this braid with this. And then where you added shading, you'll just keep painting over it. That's basically it. And how you do highlights is I go to the lightest part of the face, and I just go to the lightest parts, like under the nose, top of the lip, around the eyes. And yeah, I'll basically just keep painting, I'll keep drawing. You guys can see where I go. And also another tip I have real quick, to blend in the hair to the face, I usually just take airbrush, I grab the skin color, I go all the way around, turn the opacity down, and now the hair blends into the skin. One of my famous tips. But yeah, I'll just keep drawing, I'll just keep painting, kind of follow along of what I'm doing. I'm basically just gonna be painting over what I already have, adding shading, adding lighting, and that's basically it, just cleaning up where I go along. Okay, so I hope you learned something from watching my drawing process. I hope that helped a little bit. But just some finishing touches I like to do is adding highlights around the head, like right here. Adding highlights to the eyes, nose, mouth, and shoulder, as well as the earring. And then something else I like to do is take a light yellow color and go back on my highlights and make them lighter. Under the nose, around the nose, top of the lip. Just to add a little bit more dimension. And then I also just, usually when I'm finished drawing, not finished, but like I'll still go back and like clean certain stuff up around, blur it out a little. My back end of the dense watercolor. If you can, I don't know if you noticed, but I mostly did use dense watercolor for everything. Now and then I would use a textured brush. I'll also go back and clean up the edges just by painting over them. And something else I like to do is add highlights to the face. I'll add a glow to the middle of the face and around the circle of the hair, just to make it a little bit more vibrant. And then I'll also go around the drawing and make the edges darker, because it's like a 3D image. I still like to go back. I know like when I'm almost like, oh, I'm done, I still like to go back and like fix things I missed. A lot of painting is just going back and making things darker and just fixing stuff you've done that you didn't like before. That's basically it. I hope you learned something. I hope this made sense. You can still go back and add like shadows in other places. Like I could add a shadow here, I could add a shadow here, over here some more, over here, under the nose, and like around the face, over here, earring. Like you can always just go back and just keep adding shadows and keep adding dimension to your drawing. But it's completely up to you. You kind of decide. I feel like when it comes to painting and rendering, another thing people don't talk about is that you decide when you're done. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be amazing. Well, of course it is. Oh wait, actually, rewind. It is going to be amazing because you drew it. But like, it does not have to be perfect. You kind of define what finish looks like to you. And to me, I'm kind of done. And maybe I'll go back and add some highlights like over here, over here, over here, over here. Maybe add a couple loose pieces. You decide when you're done. And so, yeah, that's kind of it. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you can render a little bit better now. I hope this made sense. I hope I wasn't just gibberish too, and I hope you learned something just by watching. And yeah, hope this helped. Hope you liked it. Thank you guys so much. Oh, check out my Ko-Fi, by the way, or Coffee. I have membership tiers. You can get exclusive information about my OCs, access to my fan fiction, and also NSFW work. So if you're interested, please check that out. Yeah, that'd be really cool if you did that, because it's a lot of really cool stuff in there that I worked really hard on. It's only like $1. It's only like $1 for some really cool stuff. Check it out. And yeah, it's been really fun. Thank you guys. Bye.